Well, hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Tousi TV. This is your global news channel. I'm Tousi, and the ceasefire inside the Labour Party is officially over as the backbench MPs are now coming for the Prime Minister's job. Yes, Keir Starmer has apologised this morning over the Epstein scandal. Too little, too late, Prime Minister. It is time to pack your bags. It is time to evacuate from Downing Street. Now, of course, currently Keir Starmer and his inner circle are in the Downing Street bunker. You have to drag them out because they are refusing to leave. But it's okay because the opposition parties and the Labour backbenchers might start working together now in the national interest to go in with bulldozers and drag the Prime Minister out of Downing Street. There's a lot to cover. There's a number of reactions and speeches by the opposition parties as well. But it's fascinating how Keir Starmer has managed to admit, confess, apologise, and yet still pretend that he's done nothing wrong and he didn't know anything. This is crazy. It's absolutely insane. Anyway, let's talk about what's happening. First, let's go to the apology by the Prime Minister a couple of hours ago, and then we're going to show you the opposition leader as well. Just pay attention. It's only a minute of the clip, but just pay attention to what he's saying. It's embarrassing.
I am sorry. Sorry for what was done to you. Sorry that so many people with power failed you. Sorry for having believed Mandelson's lies and appointed him. And sorry that even now you're forced to watch this story unfold in public once again. But I also want to say this. In this country, we will not look away. We will not shrug our shoulders. And we will not allow the powerful to treat justice as optional. We will pursue the truth. We will uphold the integrity of public life. And we will do everything within our power and in the interests of justice to ensure accountability is delivered. That is what the public expects. That is what the victims deserve. And it is what I will do.
It is so funny. Now, Labour MPs are now calling for the resignation of the Prime Minister. Just the beginning of it, the apology. Watch this.
I am sorry. Sorry.
You can keep saying that. It doesn't really help, Prime Minister. So, Christoph Hope from GB News also said that after the speech, the Prime Minister declined our request to take questions from GB News today. Now, this is bad because Downing Street, Labour headquarters, and the government ministers have spent the last couple of years trying their best to have a good relationship with GB News because they know that Middle England basically are watching GB News more than any other channel, mainstream channel, and these guys are the ones that you need to convince. So if you're going to ignore GB News, if they had, for example, declared war on GB News 2 years ago, that would have been completely the end of the game anyway for a Labour government. But today, it's not a good sign when you're running away from even mainstream media journalists and reporters. This is bad, this is desperate, and of course the cowards are hiding from the media. If you're not taking questions, then we know you have something to hide. So, Labour MPs are coming out to call for the resignation of the Prime Minister. The rebellion has now officially started. It took a few days, but Rachel Maskell has pulled the trigger and said that we need to now move forward as a party to ensure that we can gain that support back. I don't believe we can with the Prime Minister in place. It is inevitable that the PM is going to have to step down. Now, not only the backbench MPs have now launched their rebellion, not only the opposition leaders are now publicly calling for him to resign, the cabinet ministers are a little bit invisible and silent. So far, obviously, over the next few hours, we expect the party whips in Parliament to go pick up the phone, shout at the government ministers, and force the cabinet to slowly come out to send a message of support to the Prime Minister. But that will be fake. And again, everybody has to be very careful right now, those members of the cabinet. If you are actually loyal to the Prime Minister, then fine. You're going to go down with the ship. But those who are basically neutral right now, and they don't want any trouble, and those who want to basically plot against the issue of leadership challenge, you can't support the Prime Minister. People are going to remember this. And but that aside, the Prime Minister also repeated that Mandelson lied, right? Same nonsense again. But he admitted in Parliament yesterday, as we showed you, that he already knew, but somehow he forgot. He's got short-term memory. Prime Minister Goldfish, Keir Starmer.
Clarify something I said at Prime Minister's Questions yesterday about the relationship between Mandelson and Epstein. Because what I meant was it has been known publicly for some time that they knew each other. And that is precisely why, when we were going through the appointment process for the ambassador role, we asked questions about the nature and extent of that relationship.
Yeah.
And what I didn't say yesterday, partly inhibited by the approach of the police, is that that is precisely why those questions were asked. Questions about the nature and extent of the relationship, whether Mandelson had stayed, as was suggested, at Epstein's premises. Answers given to those questions were intentionally intended to create the impression that Mandelson barely knew Epstein, deliberately to create that impression. I had no reason at that stage to think that was anything other than the truth, and therefore we proceeded. What I learned in September was that it was not the truth, when further emails came to light, I think Bloomberg. And having asked some further questions, including questions about whether Mandelson received gifts and benefits and hospitality, the nature of the relationship, I sacked Mandelson from the role. Now, I regret making the decision to have appointed him in the first.
You're just lying again.
I'd known at the time what I know now, or knew in September, I'd have never done it. And that's why today I've apologised for the fact that I appointed him in the first place and I believed his lies. Thank you very much, Chris.
Oh my God. Okay, but you knew, and I'm going to prove that you knew because we have the intelligence services. We're going to go to the former head of MI5 as well, because everybody's been exposing the truth anyway. If these guys don't want to tell the truth, then fine, they can try to do that. But the reality of the situation is, everybody at this point already knew about the extent of Peter Mandelson's relationship. But that's not even the biggest scandal. The biggest scandal is the fact that the Prime Minister and Downing Street are not addressing one big problem. It's not just about Epstein. It's not just about the sexual nature of whatever happened. It's also about the access to intel, inside information, leaking information. Those things need to be addressed. But again, if they're not focusing on that at this time, somebody in the mainstream media needs to bring that back up. Kemi Badenoch, the leader of the opposition, said it's official now. She's now calling for Starmer to also resign, and made it clear that she's ready to work with the Labour backbench MPs to bring forward a vote of no confidence.
It is now up to Labour MPs to do the right thing. I know there are many of them who are horrified by what has happened. We saw that in the House of Commons just yesterday. They might now expect the Prime Minister to take responsibility, but we know he won't. He will have to be dragged out of number 10. So, I am making them an offer. If they want the change they know the country needs, come and speak to my whips, and let's talk seriously about a vote of no confidence to force the moment. It is for Labour MPs to decide when he goes, because it is a question of when, not if, he goes.
That's true. At the same time, Ed Davey, I know nobody takes him seriously. I get that. But it's important to mention that the opposition parties are now uniting for once. Ed Davey also called for the trigger of no confidence vote, saying the British people can't afford for this Labour soap opera to drag on for months. Let's have a confidence vote now to see whether Labour MPs have any confidence in the Prime Minister so that the government can move on one way or the other and focus on the change our country needs. We need a government totally focused on ending the cost of living crisis, fixing the NHS and care, and getting our economy growing again. Time for Keir Starmer to stay put up or shut up. So this is a very technical thing, but it's very important to mention that the opposition parties are finally doing the right thing. Because it's very easy to say, well, the Prime Minister messed up and we are from different political parties, so what we're going to call is for the whole government to go, for the whole of the Labour Party in government in the House of Commons and no confidence in government. That is not the smartest thing to do. That's something that people want. But right now, considering that the Labour Party still have majority, it's not the best way to get the Labour backbenchers on board. You need the Labour backbench MPs on your side. So instead of saying, vote of no confidence in the government, you say, Labour MPs, we'll help you do a vote of no confidence in your leader, in the Prime Minister. Get rid of the Prime Minister. So essentially saying we are giving Labour MPs power. You're going to have to do that because they have the majority. You can't bring down the government. You can bring down Keir Starmer as Prime Minister, which inevitably will bring down this government, this cabinet, but Labour MPs will have to then form a new government, which will then force the Labour MPs to call for a snap general election, and then everything will change because Labour will not be able to get a majority again. There's also another thing about Ed Davey. I know I tend not to talk positively about this man, but objectively speaking, months ago, when Ed Davey asked about this whole scandal, when Starmer appointed Peter Mandelson as US ambassador, Starmer knew, at that point now we know that Starmer knew about the relationship with Epstein. Keir Starmer lied. This is what he said.
Lord Mandelson has admitted to continuing his relationship long after Epstein was convicted, and that there are more embarrassing details we don't yet know. Mr. Speaker, people will be surprised by the Prime Minister giving Ambassador Mandelson such strong support today. So can he tell the House, has the Prime Minister asked the Ambassador what other compromising material the Trump administration might have on him as he leads Britain's negotiations with the White House?
Well, Mr. Speaker, as I've made clear to the House, a full due process was gone through when the appointment was made.
He reassured us. We've done full checking. Everything is fine. He knew at the time, don't forget. Now, potential candidates for leadership right now for the Labour Party, they're in trouble. It's a tough situation, especially if you're a member of the cabinet, like David Lammy. David Lammy wants to be Prime Minister over my dead body, firstly, David. But he also backed Mandelson. But look at this. This is from a few months ago when Peter Mandelson became ambassador to the US. Look how uncomfortable he is.
Peter Mandelson is a man of considerable expertise. He's the right man for this moment to be our ambassador. He's been a business secretary, a Northern Ireland secretary. Of course, he's worked in the European Commission, and he brings all of that to bear working as our ambassador in the United States. And of course, he's looking forward to presenting his credentials to Donald Trump.
He was not comfortable, but he was digging his own grave. It's over for David Lammy. No hope, no chance. To be fair, even without that endorsement of Mandelson, there was no hope for David Lammy anyway. I mean, Labour MPs are stupid, but they can't be that stupid. We're going to talk about potential replacement, the main potential replacement in a second. But going back to Kemi, she's been very proactive today as the leader of the Tories, and she has not just been hitting at Starmer, but also the main person in charge, Morgan McSweeney, the man who is actually running Downing Street behind the scenes, the right-hand man to the Prime Minister. Kemi said this about Morgan.
There's so much more to come. I think that those papers are going to show all sorts of terrible decision-making and bad judgment by the Labour government. I think Keir Starmer is only going to get into more trouble. I think Morgan McSweeney is probably toast. I'm amazed he's still in the job. He was Peter Mandelson's protege. He was the one who pushed for this appointment and must have seen all of the vetting. He's been controlling the lives of a lot of Labour cabinet ministers, who gets sacked, who doesn't get sacked. I'd be amazed if he continued in the job.
Yes. I mean, there's the other problem, because what's going to happen to, for example, Rachel Reeves? Rachel Reeves, as Chancellor, she's also toast, because she's only there because of the confidence of the Prime Minister. So I can imagine how depressed Rachel might be at this time. But as I said, don't even just take my word. The former head of MI6 and the intelligence services have been saying the same thing, that Peter Mandelson was appointed as US ambassador before the security clearance was even authorized. That is a whole different scandal, by the way, for the overall Downing Street Cabinet Office and the Labour Party headquarters.
I was disgusted. I wasn't shocked, because I think one knew enough about the man to know that there were so many skeletons in the cupboard. He shouldn't ever have been put in any of these positions after the first few, incidents in his professional life. That should have discounted him out. I mean, he clearly was a person who couldn't be properly vetted. And I think, look, if you've been the head of an organisation which demands developed vetting for every single member of staff, where you have a responsibility, and for a period of time in MI6, I was actually the head of personnel, or, the director of personnel, you demand of your staff the highest standards of behaviour, and you don't give them the benefit of the doubt when something goes wrong. And if their vetting certificates are withdrawn, they lose their jobs. It's as simple as that.
Now, this is not a big scandal for Starmer as Prime Minister, or number 10 Downing Street, or the Labour Party. This is also a big scandal for the basic security of the country and the kingdom. And it's fascinating how one creepy, touchy MP brought down Boris Johnson as leader, and this still hasn't brought down the Prime Minister. Obviously, he's falling. It doesn't matter. He's falling anyway. But right now, it's about Labour MPs, backbench MPs, getting empowered by the opposition parties to go inside the building to drag him out, because he's not going to voluntarily resign. You have to push. But the nature of politics in the UK is that you push for vote of no confidence. You push for that, but leaders tend to then resign before they know that they're going to lose the vote. If they think they can win the vote, they stay, but you can still push them out if the vote is narrow. But we tend not to actually remove using vote of no confidence. We remove leaders using the threat of vote of no confidence. Nigel Farage, the leader of Reform UK, also said this about Morgan McSweeney. He said, I predict that Morgan McSweeney, the chief advisor, will be gone pretty quickly. Yeah, he'll be the first to go, I believe. I don't know, Nigel says, how long Starmer will last as Prime Minister. Indeed, I'm pretty worried about it. I want him to stay forever. And I say forever, I mean until the 7th of May. So, obviously it's in the interest of Reform UK for Keir Starmer to stay in power. But I don't think they should worry, because even if they replace Starmer, they don't really have any talent, anyone really, to be a big problem for Reform UK. You might say there is one man. Who's that man? Ed Miliband is not a problem. But just pay attention to this very, very subtle maneuver by Ed Miliband, who is currently the Secretary of State for Net Zero. Yeah, remember Greta Thunberg? Ed Miliband is her best friend. Ed Miliband has not posted on social media since the 30th of January, especially the last week since this scandal got bigger and bigger. No messages of support to the Prime Minister. No, I have full confidence in my party leader and Prime Minister, Keir Starmer. He is making a move. Ed Miliband and people like him are currently busy essentially doing what they have to do, which is to prepare their team. And this is the bigger problem for the cabinet, because the people in charge of the cabinet, they have to get the inner circle to stay united. And if they can't do that, then there's a whole different problem, because it's not really just about the backbench MPs, it's also about the cabinet members. Now, there is a couple of reactions in the live chat that I saw. 1 second. Yeah, so there is a retarded person in the live chat called Private Jose saying, don't be clickbaiting. Now, considering there are two issues, well, three things. Number one, I don't think people know the definition of clickbaiting. Clickbait is you put something in the title, you click on a video, and the video is about something completely different. You got baited, you got tricked. What you mean is you're lying. That's different. You could say the whole report is a lie. Cool? So that definition of clickbait, get it right. Secondly, Mr. Retarded Private Jose, I showed you the evidence, right? Statements and videos about the rebellion against... Considering the title of the video is quite straightforward. Labour MPs to force Starmer to resign over Epstein scandal, right? It doesn't say Starmer has resigned, right? It's simply about the rebellion that has now been launched, because we showed you the statements from the Labour MPs, and of course the opposition, who are also trying to work with the Labour backbench MPs. And of course the apology part of it, we showed you the apology by the Prime Minister. So, I'm not your problem. Go take care of your own mental issues and grow up. Next, Keir Starmer is Sergeant Schultz of our time. Keir Starmer is... what's the name of the Blackadder? The series about the war. Not Rowan Atkinson himself, the other guy, Rowan Atkinson's friend. I forgot the name. It's him. They were basically cowards in the war. So we will get Lammy as interim prime minister now. We are in for so David Lammy will be interim prime minister if they manage to force him out anyway, right? Because he's de facto deputy prime minister. What were you thinking, Starmer? Who told him it would be a good idea to get David Lammy to become deputy prime after Angela Rayner? They should have just made Rachel Reeves their deputy prime minister as well, because she's already second in command because she's chancellor. So Draco says Jose has been privately retarded. Why go public now? Because private Jose. That's funny. I love that. And Starmer is an idiot. What a scumbag. Yeah. Can't argue against that. Starmer is just a dingleberry. How large is the main dump? Rut goes deep. Yeah, it's not really just about the Labour politicians. It's also about the civil servants who allowed this to happen. Don't forget, right? And Maya's hair equals Chuck Norris' legendary status. I'm not taking that as a good thing, but yeah. Anyway, grandstanding while fake apologizing. Oh, that apology was so fake. It was also so rehearsed. Everything was rehearsed. Just go watch the full speech. It's embarrassing. Massive respecto. I think it's supposed to say massive respect to you, TC. We watch every day. This is our new channel. We want to also do live streams of airspaces. Should be grateful of shout out. Well, Airspace Watcher, everybody check out the channel. And best of luck. 2 words, Keir. Grooming gang. Doesn't excuse the fact that Starmer knew he still had a relationship with Epstein after he was released from jail. The whole world knows. Total fraud. The fact that the former head of MI6 said the security clearance wasn't even authorized, and they appointed the man. That is a whole different problem, because that is a systemic problem. That's not really just about personal judgment. That is a governmental decision, which means that the whole of government has now been undermined. You can't even control basic scandals. What happened? Do you remember when people used to think, well, the British Empire still exists, the British deep state, we're still running the world behind the scenes? We can't even hide basic scandals. It's so embarrassing. It's just one man being appointed as a US ambassador. We can't even do corruption properly. It's so bad. Things are bad, guys. We can't even do villain stuff. He's a lawyer. He's trained to see through lies. Yeah, but the problem is that when you're a lawyer like Keir Starmer, and you're used to lying as a lawyer, the issue with that is that you can't really tell when somebody's telling the truth or lying to you, because you just expect yourself to be the smart liar. And it actually ironically clouds your judgment because you think you're the smart one, but then they catch you out. Wow, what an absolute pathetic Jack. Yep, that coming from a so-called human rights lawyer who runs a two-tier justice system. He is delusional. The thing about his legal expertise, that actually becomes a problem because the last two comments mentioned him being a lawyer. This, and people now use it as an insult, right? Oh, you're supposed to be a legal expert, a lawyer, and you're still stupid, right? Or you're evil. We have to be careful not to fall for that trap, because people like myself and our channel and many of us since 2015, 2016, when the Brexit referendum started, the campaign, that was the first wave, and the Trump election, the first wave of people like us pushing back against elitism and status and the so-called experts. Because for decades and decades, the current world order, the consensus has been that normal people are stupid, believe and trust anybody with credentials, anybody with a title, anybody with a status, right? Because if this person has a piece of paper, academic paper saying, look, this is my title, right? I'm a doctor, I'm a lawyer, then by default, they are the gods of morality. By default, they are the smartest people in the world. You cannot question their judgment. And that becomes a problem. And we pushed back against it during the Brexit referendum. In the United States, they pushed against it during the MAGA campaign for President Trump. And now we should be careful not to fall for that trap. That, for example, even if we say that, yeah, but he's supposed to be a lawyer, he needs to be smarter than that, right? Because we are unintentionally, indirectly, basically doing the same thing. That, hey, lawyers, they're supposed to be smart. But it's not actually true. Because just because you have a piece of paper, just because you have credentials, or you've studied about some sort of history of some topic, doesn't actually mean you are wise. Having wisdom, having common sense, having street smart is different to being academically smart. Because two people could read the exact same topic, for example, the history of Spartans, and the two people are now knowledgeable about it. But they will have two different judgments because they will interpret it differently. And that is the thing. So when people say, you're not educated, go study something, it doesn't actually do anything because, again, it's about your genetics, it's about your brain, it's about your environment, and obviously how you were raised and how you see the world. You could read the exact same thing, the history of Israel, for example, and one of you would see the truth. Oh yes, actually Israel, the history of Israel makes sense. You know, the Israelis have a right. And then if you're already anti-Semitic, you could still read the exact same text and you'd be like, yeah, I've read it. I'm now knowledgeable. Israel shouldn't exist. That's the problem. When people say, well, you just need to be educated, it doesn't really do anything. It's not about knowledge, it's about what you do with knowledge. Can Starmer look for ridiculous? What a liar. You guys need to get rid of that scumbag. Yeah, the problem is we have a parliamentary system, so it's up to the parliamentarians, not us. But it's okay. I have absolute faith in the Labour backbenchers. Come on, Labour Party. You can do this. I've never cheered for the Labour MPs in my life until now. Our national security is seriously compromised. And that's the thing, by the way. Ivan is right, because there have been at least 5 recent topics and scandals about the failure of the intelligence, vetting and things like that. We kind of need to do a proper investigation into the security of the country in general. So it's not really just about the politicians. It's also about the system itself. So Wendy something is spamming, people say. As I always say, we don't have moderators on this channel. Free speech, you could say whatever you want to say. If you copy and paste like a crazy person, then you will get banned like a crazy person. Wendy, right? Where is Wendy? Is Wendy copy and pasting? I saw one comment from Wendy, but I don't see her copy and pasting. Where's Wendy? Oh, yeah, the Jew thing. I just got it. The Jew thing. Now the comment's gone. Wendy, can you copy and paste it again, please? Because I've lost you. That's not nice. I've lost Wendy. The problem is the live chat goes up so quickly. It's difficult to catch them. There we go, found them. She's saying Lammy is Jewish. David Lammy is Jewish. I mean, of all things to do in terms of anti-Semitism, Lammy is Jewish is a waste of energy to type. You could say so much more. If you're going to be anti-Jewish, be creative about it. Come on. Be better if you're going to be racist. Anyway, and I know it's off topic. I saw this report that IRGC State TV is showing non-stop Tucker Carlson. Can you verify? Yeah. Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens their shows are being broadcast regularly now on the Islamic Republic State TV in Iran. That's a whole new level of torture for the Iranian people. Forcing them to watch Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens all day. Could this be the first in a series of dominoes, respectfully, from the US? Well, it depends what dominoes you're talking about. If it's the pizza, then no. If it's other countries and the liberal leaders, probably not. But if you mean the rest of the cabinet and government ministers, yeah, they're all going to go. Once he's out of office, do you think the super injunction about his private life will be lifted? Probably not, and eventually will, quietly, and at that point I think nobody's going to be interested in terms of the media. Not you or me. They won't report on it anyway. They're just going to move on. That's usually how it works in this country. So after a while, Starmer's gone, forget about him, let's move on to the next thing. Another Ukrainian rent boy arrested as soon as he's gone. Oh, for God's sake. Rumor has it that Diane Abbott is running for Prime Minister on the 11th of Julember 2256. You know what? This comment wins the day. Brilliant, brilliant work. Starmer takes procrastinating to a new level. Oh dear. Anyway, so Starmer is in trouble. The Labour MPs have now launched their rebellion against the Prime Minister's leadership. It's time to go in and drag him out of Downing Street's bunker. Thank you so much for watching. We're going to come back shortly with the latest breaking news from the Middle East, as the Islamic Republic of Iran have now taken a number of foreign nationals as hostage in the Middle East. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Tousi, and we are the media.